Good day and thank you for joining us on Beetv Global News at 12. I am Lee Bratesman Johanna. Now the news in details. U.S. stock markets closed. Litchi changed on Wednesday after a stronger than expected January employment report reassured investors about the resilience of the economy, but simultaneously reduced expectations that the Federal Reserve will begin cutting interest rates soon. The report.
The Dow Jones Industry Average slipped about 0.1% to 0.13%, while the Nasdaq Composite declined roughly 0.16%. The S&P 500 ended virtually unchanged, hovering near the flat line as gains in some sectors offset weakness in others. Investor sentiment was shaped primarily by fresh labor market data showing that U.S. employers added more jobs than economics had anticipated in January, with the unemployment rate edging lower. The data reinforced confidence that the world's largest economy remains on solid footing despite elevated borrowing costs. However, the same strong employment figures also fueled expectations that the Federal Reserve may not rush to ease monetary policy. Traders scaled back bets on the timing and magnitude of potential rate cuts, pushing expectations for the first reduction further into the year. The prospect of higher interest rates for longer typically weighs on equity valuations, particularly growth and technology stocks. Technology shares were mixed during the session, contributing to the Nasdaq modest decline. Some chip makers and growth-oriented companies saw pressure as Treasury yields edge higher following the jobs data. Meanwhile, certain clinical sectors, including energy and materials, found support from the view that strong labor market signals continued economic expansion. Broader market participation reflected caution. The Russell 2000 index of small-cap stock also posted a slight decline, underscoring the restrained tone across Wall Street. Bond yields rose from the employment report, reflecting reduced expectation from near-term policy easing. Analysts noted that while investors welcome signs of economic strength, the implication that the Federal Reserve could maintain restrictive rates for longer tempered enthusiasm. Market participants are now turning their attention to upcoming inflation data, including the Consumer Price Index (CPI), which could provide further guidance on the trajectory of monetary policy. Investors remain sensitive to any data that could influence the Fed's decision-making path in the months ahead. In summary, Wall Street ended the session in a muted fashion, balancing optimism over economic resilience against recalibrated expectations for Federal Reserve rate cuts. Evelyn Izibili reporting for Beetv News.
Marima Martinez, a 30-year-old Chicago woman who was shot 5 times by a U.S. Border Patrol agent during an immigration enforcement operation last October, announced she will pursue legal actions against the agent involved and the U.S. Department of Homeland Security after newly released evidence contradicted the government's version of events. The report.
Martinez, a Montessori school teacher and U.S. citizen, was wounded in the October 4, 2025 incident in the Brighton Park neighborhood of Chicago amid a broad federal immigration crackdown. Federal officials initially claimed Martinez had ambushed Border Patrol agents and tried to ram her vehicle into theirs and branded her a domestic terrorist. Charges of assaulting federal officers were later filed but dismissed with prejudice, meaning the government cannot refile them. In recent court filings, attorneys for Martinez released a trove of evidence, including body-worn camera footage, surveillance photos, and text messages from agents at the scene that they say undermine the official accounts. Footage released by federal prosecutors show agents in a Border Patrol vehicle saying it's time to get aggressive shortly before their SUV collided with Martinez's car, a moment that contradicts claim that she rammed the agents. The body cam appears to show the agent's steering wheel turned towards her vehicle just before the crash. After the collision, Border Patrol agent Charles Exum exited the vehicle and fired 5 shots into Martinez's car. Martinez survived and later drove to a nearby shop for help before being taken to a hospital. Text messages made the public show Exum and colleagues discussing the shooting in a way Martinez's lawyers describe as inappropriate, including messages about her marksmanship and praise from other agents. Martinez's team says the evidence showed the agents sought to misrepresent what happened and that federal officials, including leadership within Homeland Security, had failed to correct misleading public statements about the case. At a press conference, Martinez Anthony said the released documentation exposed false claims spread by the Department of Homeland Security and showed a pattern of misrepresentation. Martinez plans to file a Federal Tort Claim Act complaint at the first step towards a civil lawsuit seeking accountability and damages. The case has attracted attention amid broader national scrutiny of federal immigration enforcement tactics after other controversial shooting involving ICE and Border Patrol agents. Advocate for Martinez said the evidence highlights the need for transparency and oversight of federal law enforcement agencies. Evelyn Zibli reporting for BTV News.
Downtown Seattle's was awash in Navy action green and blue on Wednesday as thousands of jubilant fans poured into the city to celebrate the Seattle Seahawks commanding 29-13 victory over the New England Patriots in Super Bowl LX. The report.
The championship parade, which stretched through the heart of downtown, drew an estimated sea of supporters who lined the streets hours before the team bosses rolled through. Fans waved 12 flags, chanted Seahawks in unison and erupted in cheers as players hoisted the Lombardi trophy high above their heads. The Seahawks capped a dominant postseason run with a composed and physical performance on football's biggest stage. Seattle's defense proved decisive, forcing 3 turnovers and sealing the win with a dramatic fourth-quarter interception return for a touchdown that effectively puts the game out of reach. Quarterback Sam Darnold managed the offense efficiently, while the ground game, led by Kenneth Walker III, kept pressure on the Patriots' defense throughout the night. Kicker Justin Meyer was instrumental in building an early lead with multiple field goals before Seattle exploded offensively in the fourth quarter. At the parade, head coach and players took turns addressing the crowd from a stage set up near the city center. "This is the 12th," one player shouted, referring to the franchise's passionate fan base. "You've been with us every step of the way." City officials reported smooth coordination between law enforcement and event organizers, with road closure and public transit adjustments put in place to accommodate the massive turnout. Local businesses also joined the celebration, displaying congratulatory signs and offering team specials. For many fans, the victory carried emotional weight, marking another historic chapter in franchise history. Families attended in Seahawks jerseys. Children pitched on shoulders to catch a glimpse of their heroes, and longtime supporters reflected on the team's journey to reclaim football ultimate prize. As confetti filled the air and the trophy under a rare burst of Seattle sunshine, one thing was clear: the city had fully embraced its champions once again. Favor Kolawole reporting for BTV News.
Violence broke out in Argentina's capital on Wednesday as activist groups and labor unions staged mass protests against the controversial labor reform bill currently under debate in the Senate. Clashes between demonstrators and police left several people injured and led to multiple arrests, according to local authorities. The report.
Thousands of protesters gathered near the National Congress building in Buenos Aires, waving union flags and chanting slogans against the proposed legislation. The bill, backed by the government, seeks to introduce sweeping changes to Argentina's labor laws, including modification to severance pay regulation, collective bargaining agreements, and hiring practices. Union leaders argue that the reforms would significantly weaken workers' protection and undermine collective bargaining rights. They claim the measure favors employers and could lead to job insecurity, reduced compensation, and restriction on the right to strike. This reform represents a direct attack on workers' rights that have been fought for over decades. A union spokesperson told reporters at the scene, "We are here to defend those rights and to demand that the Senate reject this bill." Tensions escalated in the afternoon when some protesters attempted to breach security barriers set up around Congress. Police responded by deploying rout units, tear gas, and water cannons to disperse the crowd. Scattered confrontation followed, with protesters throwing stones and other objects at security forces. Emergency services confirmed that several demonstrators and police officers sustained minor injuries during the arrest. Authorities reported that a number of individuals were detained on charges related to public disorder and vandalism. The government has defended the reform package, describing it as necessary to modernize Argentina's labor market, attract investment, and stimulate economic growth amid ongoing financial challenges. Officials argue that the change will encourage formal employment and reduce litigation costs for businesses. Senate debate continued inside the Congress building despite the unrest outside. Lawmakers from opposition parties have voiced strong objections to key aspects of the bill, while government allies insist the reforms are critical to stabilizing the economy. The outcome of the Senate vote remains uncertain as negotiations between political blocs continue. Meanwhile, union leaders have warned that further nationwide strikes and demonstrations could follow if the bill is approved. Security around government buildings in Buenos Aires has been tightened as authorities brace for additional protests in the coming days. Favor Kolawole reporting for Beetv News.
Flights in and out of El Paso International Airport resumed Wednesday morning after the Federal Aviation Administration lifted a sodium ban that had grounded all air traffic overnight. The report.
The temporary restriction affected all commercial, cargo, general aviation, and private flights in a roughly 10 nautical mile radius of the airport and up to about 18,000 feet. The shutdown, initially described as lasting up to 10 days for special security reasons, began late Tuesday. Authorities said the closure was prompted by safety concerns related to a military anti-drone system and potential threats from drones crossing into U.S. airspace near the border. Airlines were forced to cancel or delay flights, and passengers were left stranded while officials assessed the situation. After several hours, the FAA lifted the restriction, stating there was no ongoing threat to commercial aviation and flight operation returned to normal. Airlines quickly resumed departure and began rebooking affected passengers, though some delays persisted. Local and federal officials provided different explanations for the shutdown. Some cited military testing of anti-drone technology at nearby Fort Bliss, while others suggested concern about cross-border drones from criminal activity. City leaders criticized the abrupt action, noting that local authorities and hospitals were not informed beforehand. Passengers traveling through El Paso International Airport are advised to check with airlines for updated flight schedules, as some disruptions from the temporary closure may continue. Favor Kolawole reporting for Beetv News.
U.S. lawmakers have accused Attorney General Pam Bondi of withholding the identities of powerful individuals linked to convicted sex offenders Jeffrey Epstein in tense hearing before the House of Representatives. The allegations came as members of the House Judiciary Committee questioned Bondi on the handling of Epstein cases and the transparency of our office. The report.
No, can I finish my answer? You don't tell me.
Yeah, I did tell you because we saw what you. You're the Attorney General of the United States.
You're obsessed with Donald Trump. You have Trump derangement syndrome.
During the hearing, lawmakers pressed Bondi for details on whether her office had fully disclosed information about Epstein's connection to influential figures, including politicians, business leaders, and other high-profile individuals. Some members suggested that the omission of names may have been deliberate, raising concern about accountability and the protection of powerful associates. Bondi, who serves as Florida's Attorney General at the time of Epstein's earlier cases, defended her office actions, insisting that decisions were made in accordance with the law. However, she declined to provide specific names of Epstein associates, prompting sharp criticism from the committee. We are concerned that vital information that could shed light on Epstein's network may have been kept from investigators and the public, one lawmaker said. The hearing reflects ongoing scrutiny over how Epstein, who was convicted of sex trafficking and faced decades of alleged abuse, was able to cultivate connections with some of the nation's wealthiest and most influential individuals. The lawmakers emphasized the need for transparency in investigation involving powerful figures, warning that failure to disclose information undermines public trust in the justice system. Bondi's testimony comes amid renewed public and congressional interest in Epstein's associates and the handling of his legal cases. The committee is expected to continue reviewing records and may seek further testimonies to determine whether any misconducts occurred in the management of Epstein-related investigations. Evelyn Izibile reporting for Beetv News.
And on the business news, the federal government's plan to provide stable electricity to federal universities and tertiary hospitals has stalled due to the non-release of funds allocated in the 2025 budget. Although over 300 billion naira was earmarked in the 2025 Appropriation Act for the special energy intervention, no funds have been released, resulting in no progress on the project. The report.
The Special Advisor on Media to the Minister of Power, Bolaji Tunji, confirmed that no funding has been released for the project. The initiative was designed to address persistent power shortage in teaching hospitals and universities, many of which rely heavily on diesel generators. About 300 billion naira was allocated in 2025 budget to provide stable electricity to these institutions, mainly through solar, hybrid, and renewed energy solution. The Dangote Petroleum Refinery has reached its full nameplate capacity of 650,000 barrels per day following the restoration and optimization of its crude distillation unit and motor spirit production block, marking what the company described as a global first for a single train refinery of its scale. In a statement on Wednesday, the firm said the development signals a critical phase in the ramp-up of Africa's largest oil refining facility, with the refining commencing a 72 hours intensive performance test run in collaboration with its licensor, UOP, to validate operational stability, efficiency, and compliance with global standards. The refinery stated that the milestone followed a scheduled maintenance service on the crude distillation unit and MS block, after which both units were fully stabilized and optimized for steady-state operations. The Managing Director, Chief Executive Officer of Dangote Petroleum Refinery, David Bird, used the seamless integration of the unit underscores the refinery's engineering depth and operational resilience. The Executive Secretary of the Nigerian Content Development and Monitoring Board, Felix Ogbe, has called for unprecedented collaboration across the continent to propel Africa's energy sector to global competitiveness. Speaking on the 10th edition of SIPEC in Lagos, Ogbe stressed that shared vision and cross-border cooperation are critical to developing sustainable local content strategies. According to Ogbe, collaboration between government, private sector players, and local communities is fundamental to successful local content policy. He stated that in Nigeria, the local content strategy has been internationally and methodically implemented. At the continent level, he emphasized the need for alignment and regulatory harmonization. Favor Kolawole reporting for Beetv News.
On the entertainment segment, social media activist Very Darkman has publicly criticized nightlife entrepreneur Cubana Chief Priest over his political alignment with APC, referencing detained IPOB leader Nnamdi Kanu in the process. The report.
In a viral video, Very Darkman accused Cubana Chief Priest of seeking influence and clout while allegedly aligning with the City Boy movement, a slogan associated with President Bola Tinubu's supporters. He questioned the businessman's stance, suggesting that prior rhetoric about political support tied to Nnamdi Kanu's release had shifted. Verydarkman stated that his respect for Cubana chief priest now hangs on tangible outcomes, specifically referencing Kanu's continued detention. He argued that political endorsement should translate into meaningful action rather than personal gain. In another development, media personality Dad Freeze had reacted strongly to people advising popular streamer Pella to abandon content creation and return to school. Speaking on the issue, Freeze referenced American YouTuber IShowSpeed as an example of how lucrative digital content creation can be. According to him, the streamer allegedly earns $800,000 monthly, yet reportedly considered the amount small compared to the effort he puts into his work. According to Daddy Freeze, secondary school education remains the only compulsory academic level. He explained that professions such as medicine, law, engineering, and pharmacy require formal university training. However, for creatives who are already thriving in the digital space, he questioned the relevance. While some Nigerians agreed with Freeze, others maintain that formal education still provides structure and long-term security beyond internet fame. It will be recalled that IShowSpeed visited Nigeria weeks ago during his Africa tour to celebrate his 21st birthday. During the visit, Pella attempted to meet him but was allegedly denied access by his security officials. The conversation continues to trend online as many weigh the balance between education and financial success in today's evolving digital landscape. Nollywood actor Uzo Arukwe has finally reacted to the swirling rumors linking him to the alleged marital crisis between BB Niger star Bam Bam and Teddy A. Speculation had trailed the reality TV couple after fans noticed that they unfollowed each other on social media. The development sparked widespread concern online, with many assuming their marriage might be over. However, Bam Bam later appeared to shut down the rumors by flaunting her wedding ring in a social media post. The controversy deepened after an ex-user identified as Stay Wicked made a bold claim about the couple's relationship. The user alleged that Bam Bam's marriage had crashed because she was reportedly pregnant for Uzo Arukwe. James Van Der Beek, the legendary American actor best known for his role as Dawson Leary in the hit 1990s teen drama Dawson Creek, had passed away. His wife, Vanda James, announced his passing via an Instagram post. According to her Instagram post, the actor passed away on February 11, 2025, with his family stating that he met his final days with courage, faith, and grace. The actor's wife has requested privacy as the family grieves his passing. Notably, Van Der Beek, a talented American actor, was born on March 8, 1977 in Shershire, Connecticut. He rose to fame with his iconic role as Dawson Leary in the hit TV series Dawson Creek 1998 to 2003. Additionally, his early life involved acting in local theater production, and he even landed a role in the off-Broadway play Finding the Sun at age 16. And that's it on the entertainment news. Evelyn is able reporting for Beetv News.
And lastly, on sports news, Barcelona have renewed their interest in Victor Osimhen and are preparing a fresh move for the Galatasaray forward this summer. The Catalan club see the Nigerian international as a long-term replacement for Robert Lewandowski as they plan for the future. Osimhen has been one of Europe's most consistent scorers since the 2022-23 season, when he led Napoli to the Serie A title. His pace, strength and finishing ability have made him a key figure for Galatasaray, who are enjoying domestic and European success largely driven by his goals. The Turkish club would prefer to keep him for at least another season. However, Galatasaray are reportedly willing to open negotiations at around 80 million euros if Barcelona or another top European club make a serious offer. Such a fee would boost the Turkish side finances while giving Barcelona a proven striker entering his prime. And that's it in our Global News Update. Thank you for joining us. Coming up next is the News Update at 3. I am Liberateman Johanna. Bye for now.
Audio Jungle.